Facebook is changing how they're marketing and advertising for Medicare, Social Security, and the retirement, the senior services types things, specifically in the insurance world. And you can no longer list an age bracket of like 60 plus or 55 plus. You have to list 18 to whatever.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Annuity Fundamentals. I'm your host, Kylie Malott, joined by our co-host, the one and only Mr. Ryan Anderson. Today, you know what? There is no special guest, right? It's just going to be Ryan and I talking to you a little bit about workshops. So over the past 5 years, maybe a little bit longer for Ryan, but we have dabbled in the workshop space. What works, what doesn't, where to spend money, where not to spend money, right? Especially as Medicare agents or life agents just getting into the business, it has to cash flow. So yeah, Ryan, about 5 years ago, I got into the workshop space with you, and we started off Medicare because that's kind of where we were at in our agency, cutting our teeth in Medicare. And kind of it evolved into retirement workshops, Social Security workshops, estate planning workshops. So yeah, I guess let's talk a little bit about the differences and why we got there and kind of our journey a little bit. How's that sound?
It sounds like a party to me, man. So my first thing here, I went to some training down in, I think it was in Los Angeles, and I went with a couple of colleagues, and and it was a great training. And I remember it was 3 days long. They didn't charge us for it. Had great speakers. The food was included. It was just a win, no matter how you sliced it. But the thing about it is that they taught us how to do these things. And then they gave us the presentation, they gave us the content, they gave us the couple of the companies to go through and to do the advertising with. It was really a turnkey piece, and we loved it. And we went through and we did that. And we spent $10,000 on 2 events. We held it at one of them at some hoity-toity restaurant in Spokane, Washington, and the other one was at Ruth Chris in Boise, Idaho. And and it was kind of a comedy of errors. We had a whole bunch of mistakes made right out the door. One was that we didn't have our presentation memorized, and there were 3 of us up there, and one of the guys actually had a tablet he was reading and just checking his notes at. And I was like, no, that's not my style. So I went up there, and I was being big, energetic presenter, and I totally screwed it up and confused everybody. And then the other guy, he got his stuff right. He was actually the best prepared. And so the fact that we didn't know our material, that was a problem. The second one was that the company we used to contract with to do mailers, which cost us the bulk of the money, about $7,000 or so, $6,000, sent it up there, and the post office lost them and never mailed them out. So we had to go through and just use social media. The first night we had 3 people show up. This next night we had 30 people show up. We did not close anything from the entire event. Then we came down, but we still had to pay the $1,500 or whatever it was for dinner, the minimums on both nights. Then the next night, then a few weeks later, went to Boise, Ruth's Chris, filled the room again. We learned what plate liquors were. We learned that, when they want to say, hey, I'd like to bring my son to help me come do this. And the son brought his buddy, and we had like a half dozen people there that were well outside of our age. They just wanted Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. And so we had that cluster of errors. Then again, we had met with a bunch of people, never sold anything. Now keep in mind, we were, I would say, highly proficient in annuities at this point in time. But for whatever reason, we didn't make any business on that. And after that particular endeavor, it took me about 2 years before I was willing to try seminars again. So know your stuff, and the amount of money we spent, we didn't need to, and on and on and on. It was rough.
Well, I think they totally can be, right? You have to set up your expectations for your own self by being prepared. And I think that's where a lot of agents maybe misstep is they don't have a presentation, or they don't have a presentation that works. I know when we started, it was with Medicare. And so we kind of just did the Medicare 101 appointment, and that was the presentation. So it was easy for, right, the agents as we got started, and it was educational for the people in front of us. And I think, we floundered on a couple of those too. It
That
was
is
just like, yeah, I mean, location is everything, right? We tried libraries, we liked those. We tried community centers, those
like
were
those.
positive. Then we tried some like sororities, like the Moose
I
and
think those
the
are fraternal
Eagle.
organizations,
Oh
not
yeah,
sororities. Sororities are the college girl thingies. We
fraternal.
did not go to any sororities, just for
Maybe
the
we should
record.
have.
We could have done worse than we did at the fraternal organizations.
Well, just because no one showed up. I mean, it really, those were hard ones. They had maybe 2 or 4 people show up, and so that wasn't gathering the audience that we needed, and we weren't writing business. So we definitely went through a learning curve.
Yeah, well, the thing about it is not only do we go through a learning curve with where to have them, but we also went through a learning curve with how to fill the room. We paid $7,000 to one company one time who were going to do grassroots marketing through LinkedIn, and they were going to go through and they were going to do something there, and they're going to fill the room with that, and then give us a bunch of leads on the regular. And we got, I think, our checking account depleted by $7,000 for that endeavor. Nothing there. We worked with a couple of other lead companies and we were paying a monthly subscription of like $1,800 a month or something like that. And we got the room filled, but then your recoup costs were so high for Medicare that didn't work at all. Then we did another one where they filled the room, but it was people completely outside of our demographic. Then we got another one where we filled the room, and the first group was all below low income, so annuities didn't work. The next time we did it, we filled the room with a higher demographic, but they were so far the other direction that we didn't sell anything there because they didn't want annuities. They wanted other financial stuff. These were anywhere from $5 to $15 million net worths, more sophisticated than what we were able to produce. So I mean, it's just there's a sweet spot you need to find for your business model, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, when did we start working with, okay, so Lead Shop, right? That's who we use now to fill the
Yeah.
rooms. So we've
Yeah.
used, I would say, I know you and I together over the past 6 years have used 3 different companies, Lead Shop being our last and fourth.
I've probably got a total of 5 in there of
Okay.
that. And again, but the thing about it is that each one of them were a little bit different.
Yeah.
Some were mailer, some were online, some were um, again, and some had a monthly subscription, some did not. The cost and back and forth, and with the social media, that has changed over the years as far as how we get the demographic in there. With you can get a much more refined audience as far as specific targeted audience through mail than you can with social media, but you're paying for it, and it's a much more expensive. But then again, but are you really? Because even though you've got more targeted people there, with the social media, you'll have fewer people show up, but have more people show up, but that are fewer that are in the sweet spot because it's a more of a, instead of target, it's more of a just casting a net and bringing everything in.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is that the time of year, the location, and the presentation are a big deal. That there's been some recent changes here with social media, and I'm not social media expert. I am not a online advertising expert. We've got a company for that, but this is how it was explained to me here this last week, that Facebook is changing how they're marketing and advertising for Medicare, Social Security, and the retirement, senior services types things, specifically in the insurance world. And you can no longer list an age bracket of like 60 plus or 55 plus. You have to list 18 to whatever. On insurance solutions, it won't let you go that wide. And so as a result of that, the ability to target a specific group economically has just been blown out of the water. And so,
Yeah. And that's a big deal. I mean, that affects a lot of people who do marketing through social media, and because I think you said broad, but I think you meant narrow, right? Because we're only wanting to target,
mhm.
50 and up or 60 and up, and now it's 18 and up. So that's hard And if you're hitting that many people, that means your ad spend is just getting higher and higher, right? Because it's costing more money to target the people we want. And so I think that's when you have to take into consideration the type of workshop you're running and
Mhm.
maybe make some adjustments, because you're right, with Medicare it has to pencil. If you have to sell 10 Medicare plans to break even, like that's not a place you want to be. That's a ton of work, right?
Yeah.
So I guess enter cross selling, and that's how you make it work.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is that if we go back and let's break this thing down here. So there's a lot of questions when it comes time to doing seminars. What kind of a seminar are you doing? What is your purpose for the seminar? And if we look at seminars, the real purpose of that is to get an appointment, to get in front of somebody. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do that. Then the next piece to this is, so what message do you want to share with them in order to do that? Can you do Social Security? Can you do Medicare? Can you do estate planning? Can you do a debt elimination? Can you do income planning? Can you do long-term care? Can you do all of these things that are out there? So figure out what that is, but knowing that your goal is to get to the other end and there's a gateway solution that the people are going to come through. You need to make sure that you're versed and able to, offer that solution. Then also do the cross-selling to these other things, to, like you did bring up your point, to make it worth your while. Then the other piece to that is where are you going to get a presentation, one that's compliant and one that'll actually get it effective. So there's that. And then how are you going to fill the room? So there's that. What room are you going to fill? What time of the year, what day of the week, what on and on and on, what collateral. And there's just a lot of moving parts to it. And if you get, 4 out of the 5 moving parts perfect and you blow the last one, it doesn't matter. You've got to hit 5 out of 5 pretty much all the time in order to make these things work and make them profitable. Would you agree?
100%.
So I'm just
Yeah.
sitting here thinking about this, that as we're going through here, if there's an agent who's wanting to dabble into this, I would say, number one, know your product. What is it that you're going to want, your gateway solution, and know what your target product is. So if you're going in there and you're offering a Social Security seminar, you're not selling Social Security. There's no money there. It's not a solution. You're helping people with it. It's like, yeah, I'll get them enrolled, but how do you get paid for it? On that particular type of a seminar, it's you're enrolling somebody in Medicare or you're enrolling somebody in financial services or something else. But Social Security is not your product. That's just simply your hook. And then the next piece to that is, so what do you have to, you've got to be well versed on Social Security. So you need to become an expert on that and maybe even get a certification in it potentially. Then you've got to go through here and look at, how do I cross sell and what solution am I going to offer for that? And is it hitting my market? So again, it's just, I don't know. And then what's your presentation? How long does your sales cycle take? As far as, there's a lot of questions here that need refined. So this is not something you just jump into as like, hey, I want to go ahead and do it. You need to find an expert. You need to find somebody who's been there, who's done that can help you with it and guide you through this process. Or you can spend a lot of money and figure it out, which we spent a lot of money and we figured it out. And I think some of the best advice we got was that agency up in Seattle that invited us up, and
Yeah.
they helped us tremendously. They gave us everything we needed, and I mean, they brought in our whole office for the day, and they bought us lunch and just gave it to us. It was
Yeah.
amazing. And so, I mean, but having somebody that can help you with it, I think, is the big deal.
I think you couldn't be more right. And what I love and hate about this industry is, especially if you're an independent agent, you kind of feel lost. I mean, we have a ton of independent agents coming through Annuity Fundamentals and they're looking for systems. So, as an independent agent, right, what are you doing? How are you getting in front of people? And then, yes, there's so many people who want to help you. Ryan and I are one of them, right? We want to help you get to cross-selling annuities, but there's also a lot of like gatekeepers too, where it's like, because there are so many different options about which direction you should go, which company you should use, I think you have to start of like, what's my purpose? Who do I want to be in front of? Who is my target audience? How much am I willing to spend? And like, it has to be a good fit, not just because everyone's using it or because so and so is using it, but because it's going to work for you. And consistency is everything. Um, until it's not, right? Like there's a point where you're like, okay, this isn't working. When I say this, I mean, okay, I've gone to this location 3 times and my numbers are dropping steadily with each one. Switch up a location. I my presentation is getting appointments, but not as many appointments as someone else doing their presentation. Maybe I need to adjust. Or don't be afraid to adjust your. I've adjusted mine. I mean, you and I, Ryan, we started with the same presentation, and I had to adjust mine to fit me a little bit better.
Mhm.
I think knowing where to adjust and when to adjust is important. Um, but yeah, you can definitely spend a ton of money. So I would highly recommend you find someone who's already in the space and asking a few questions.
Now, the other thing about this is, as far as we're going through and doing this, if you're looking to jump into seminars, you can do that. But the again, and we use Lead Shop, and they're a sponsor of this particular show, so we want to talk about them. But and they do an amazing job filling the room. And that's their secret sauce, is they go through and you tell them where you want, you tell them the location, and they'll help you fill the room. And whether you want to do that with a meal, whether you don't want to do it with a meal, the restaurant, a community center, a library, a firehouse, or whatever, wherever it might be, there's lots of things there that can help you with it. And there's lots of pros and cons to both of them. But one of the things about it is that I don't think that agents should jump into seminars right out the door, just simply because, number one, they can potentially be cost prohibitive. You can spend a lot of money in a very short period of time and not get a return unless you're knowing what you're doing. And I would say that going through and having somebody to teach you, to show you, to give you the presentation, to help you master your presentation are all things that I would recommend first. And then that way you can kind of have it figured out as far as I want to target this market, this space, and then they can kind of help you go through and find the best location, the subject matter, and the potentially even the more cases at the other end. It's like we say in our classes, is that if you're looking to get annuities and you're wanting to close a lot more of those, we'll give you the language you need with your current client list, unless your current client list is all low-income welfare recipients that are on the dual special needs plans that by definition don't have any investable assets. And then at that point in time, yeah, we're going to need to get some new lead sources.
Well, I think there's a huge need for a DSNP. So don't get us wrong, right? Those people absolutely they need help, and like that's a good thing that agents do out there. But we have a ton of agents who come through Annuity Fundamentals and say, hey, I want to change my life and I want to get into the annuity space, but they only see DSNP clients. Well, then we're talking about creating opportunities. So that's why I personally really like workshops, is it because it creates those opportunities to have those conversations. And that's what we're looking for. So the language that we give you, the systems that we give you in our 6-week course, it all leads back to creating opportunities for yourself through your gateway. Whether that's life insurance or Medicare, we create a different conversation. And I guess to our point is, if you're having DSNP clients and those are the only people you're seeing, then you're never going to have the conversation. And so then that opportunity is automatically taken away from you because those people are just not in the space where you're wanting to go or wanting to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So one of the things about this here, I mean, this is just a very surface level conversation we're having, that if you've got, number one, figure out where you want to be. Where do you want to work at as far as physically, geographically? Figure out then at that point in time, what's the income model and what is the solution you actually want to sell? And then what's the gateway to get to that? Then from there, figure those things out and then go out and find an organization or company to help you try to fill the room. A lot of people try to do this on their own. You'll spend a lot of time and money on that, man. I found it much easier to find somebody who knows what they're doing on it, and let's trust the experts to do that. And then from there, you can go out and deliver your message, make sure you've got a good compliant message, run your appointments as you would at the end, and then they work really well, but like all lead sources, they take some time to get figured out. So don't think you're going to be an expert day one.
Anything else?
No, I think that's about it. This is just a pretty short, quick, to the point kind of a episode today. So hopefully that'll help you folks out there. If you need help with this, go to leadshop.org. They're actually the sponsor of this particular episode. They can help you with it. They can help you with the presentation. They can help you fill the room and just kind of go from there. But they're really one-stop shopping, and it's helped us tremendously.
Absolutely. So shout out to leadshop.org. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next time.